The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Hello Cherries fans, and welcome back to Up the Cherries in all departments. And yes, this video is just to touch on these links again with our gaffer Andoni Iraola being linked away, and obviously this time yet again he's being linked to Manchester United, which obviously is a massive club. But would that be the right move for Andoni? Absolutely not, in our opinion. But this isn't a case that we think he may be interested in going. We know he's going to stay. We know he's going to stay at Bournemouth. He's not a man that, breaks his contracts mid-terms and things like that. He is a very, very loyal manager. But, Manchester United, let's look at it from Andoni's perspective, Andoni's style of play. Is he the type of manager that could go in there with that current squad now and transform them? I don't really think that would be the best of moves at this time. It's almost like it's a case of right manager, wrong time. But let's dive in. Let's pick out a few bits and let's just lay out maybe why he wouldn't be right for the Manchester United job. So, Andoni Iraola then, despite his tactical brilliance at Bournemouth, he might not be the right fit for the Manchester United job. I think he definitely won't be, or at least yet. Who knows what the future holds for any manager? We know how football works. But this isn't going to be about doubting what Andoni's done, what Andoni can do, doubting his talent. It's just to look at the mismatch between the clubs, the managerial style, and probably the expectations of Manchester United. Now let's just look at Andoni's style of play. We all know we get the pleasure of watching his great football week in, week out, and it's something that we all love to watch. But he thrives on the high pressing, the vertical transitions, the pace, the positional rotations. That's something he really, really thrives on. And our squad currently, is buying into his philosophy, or has bought into his philosophy, not buying into, they've bought into it. And they've also, brought into his style of play. They know what he wants, and he knows what he's going to get from them. He knows the squad like the back of his hand. Let's look at United. United's squad, totally different to Bournemouth. They're a squad built for possession. You've got players like Bruno Fernandes, who I think is, an absolute quality player. I know a lot of people love him. But, he flourishes really in space. And I think a rigid pressing system would probably... Would he be able to flourish in a rigid possession system? Who knows? But I don't know. I think he flourishes in that space. He needs space, and I think if it was more rigid, I think players like him would struggle in the squad. Could Andoni's playing system and United's talent, could that bond currently? I don't think it could. I mean, let's look at Andoni at Bournemouth. We all know, Andoni has that tactical freedom. Like I said, he knows the squad like the back of his hand. He knows exactly the strengths, the weaknesses of all his players. Probably by now also is really up to speed with all of the new additions this season to the squad. He's got a very supportive board of directors behind him. He's also got a very good recruitment department, obviously in the likes of Simon Francis and Pinto. Two very, very hard-working members of the backroom team who have brought in some wonderful players, excellent additions to those that we've lost. They've brought in some real good, strong additions for Andoni to work with. So he has that as well. And also look at it from a media point of view, and this is no disrespect to us as a football club, but the media pressure is a lot less at Bournemouth, whereas United is a lot more intense. There's a lot more intensity in being in front of the media, being that number one guy at the top of one of the world's biggest football clubs. At United, he would face probably, I say probably, but more than likely, a lot of scrutiny, not only from the media but also from the fan base as well. The dressing room. Let's take a look at the dressing room. United have made some additions this pre-season. We've seen the players that have come in, but are they players that are currently fixing a fractured dressing room? I think there's a lot of issues still in the dressing room, even though the current manager has managed to move on certain players. I still think there's a fracture there in the dressing room. Is that something that Andoni would want to take on at this stage? I really don't think it would be. Their fan base, let's be honest, the fan base has had many years of success under Sir Alex, who is the greatest manager of all time, or if not one of them. So they're used to winning silverware, and these last sort of 10-15 years where however long it is that Ferguson's been gone now, they kind of had spells. They've had the odd trophy here and there, but they've had dips. They're expecting a manager to come in now and bring back the glory days at United, and that is something definitely Andoni Iraola could do. But could he do it with that squad? The squad would need some real revamp, some real investment. It's not a case of the manager going in there and saying that these players have to adapt to the way I play and my style. Sometimes players can't always transition and do things like that. So, I think really the current squad there it would need a complete overhaul for someone like Andoni to go in there and start playing their style of football. Andoni he's not afraid to speak out. He does make his points very, very, very clearly. He does show his frustrations at times, with the likes of VAR and officiating by the referees. So, could that backfire possibly as United manager? Who knows? But the main focus of this is that the fact is that the squad at United isn't built to play Andoni's style of football. Let's look at some of the aspects of that. They've got aging midfielders there. Some that have been world class in their day, but now unfortunately, could they transition into Andoni's style of play? I don't think they could. Inconsistent presses. Now that's what Andoni's game is all about. So and when you look at it from the defensive point of view as well, there's defenders that struggle to play those high lines. So yeah, it seems like a match, not a match made in heaven. His success at Bournemouth, has really hinged on not just certain players, but players have made massive impacts under his style of play, like Semenyo and Evan Nilsson. Many players. I could name loads. I could name the whole squad probably. But they have tactically adapted and are physically relentless. And I don't think really United have got a squad of players quite like ours in terms to play that style. I just don't think they have. Like I've said, a full rebuild there for someone like Andoni to go in would have to happen. It would just have to happen. There'd have to be lots of investment. I know United have just announced their revenues and stuff yesterday, but it's great to be successful off the pitch, but you've got to be successful on it as well. And that the United board hasn't shown patience for long-term tactical projects, and And I remember saying when their current manager went in there, they've got to give the guy time. They've got to see it as a project. It's not going to be overnight success. Have they appointed the wrong man? Quite possibly. Obviously, that's for Man United fans to have their say on rather than myself. But looking at it, it quite possible. I mean, Andoni's time in the Premier League has been fantastic. It's been one hell of a journey. But if he was to jump ship now, which he's not going to, we know he's not going to. But if he was, it'd be kind of like reading a novel and skipping several chapters. It just wouldn't be right. It just wouldn't be right for him, and it wouldn't be right for his career. He's proven that, and he has at his past clubs, that he can go into sides and elevate underdogs, and work with players and make players better. And I think, if you've seen, and, like a lot of us have watched Semenyo over the last couple of seasons since he's worked under Andoni, he's become absolutely exceptional. So, it is a case of, Andoni's strengths is working with players and getting the best out of the players. Managing a global brand like United, that requires so many different aspects that I just think at the moment Andoni just wouldn't want to take that on. Everything from from not just the playing side but to the media, the ego balancing. There's so many things there that is a massive challenge. I'm not saying that Andoni couldn't do it, but what I'm just saying is would it be the right move for him? I really don't think it would be. I really think that it's not the right time, and like I say, it is probably a case of right manager, wrong time. I think, and we all know as Bournemouth fans, we want to keep hold of Andoni. The contract situation's a whole different thing, which I'm not going to touch on. That will happen when it happens. But, we do know one day that, this guy's going to go to the very, very top of management, and hopefully that will be with Bournemouth. But we can't be surprised that he's getting linked to job after job after job because of just what he is doing at the club and what he is doing with the players. He is showing his strengths week in, week out when the boys go out onto the pitch. And, we just can't be surprised that he's attracting all that talk and speculation. But it doesn't mean he's going to jump ship. He's not going to. I can't see it personally. I'd be very, very surprised. I can see why, he appeals to Man United fans. I can totally see that. But I just, again, don't think it's the right time for either him or the club itself. I think United needs someone who can probably navigate all the troubles that they've got on the pitch at the minute. It's not that he's the wrong manager. He's just the wrong manager at this time. And I think for his career, he would be, I think it would be not great. I mean, look at Ruben Amorim. He's left Sporting. He was doing a great job at Sporting Lisbon. Took on the challenge. Obviously, it's a massive challenge when Manchester United come knocking. But has it been right for his career? Possibly not. Only he can answer that. But you can see from the body language in the manager at Manchester United over the last few weeks, it seems like it might be a struggle. And I think, in fairness to him, I think he seems to be an excellent coach. Again, and it could be like I've said about Andoni, right manager, wrong time. So he's not going to be going anywhere. He's still going to be at Bournemouth. I'd be very, very surprised if he leaves Bournemouth for another club mid-season. It's just not his style. But yeah, those are the reasons why I don't think he would fit at Manchester United. If you've got any views and opinions on it, do pop it in the comments. Do share your views. It's obviously just an opinion on why I don't think it would be the right move for him. Not that he's going to move anyway, like I keep saying. But yeah, no, just a big shout out firstly to our sponsors. To Dental on the Banks, who are continuing their sponsorship with us for another season, and also to Touchpoint Telecoms. Big shout out to them as well for their support. So, but yeah, until the next one, guys. Thank you for watching, and yeah, all that's left to say is up the cherries.
I should be like you, Mel.
Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.